Welcome in, everyone, to this 44th edition of On-Ayer. I am your host, as always, Ryan Ayers, and the Major League Baseball postseason is finally upon us, and it's fitting in this 44th episode of On-Ayer. We talk Major League postseason baseball. First game of the wild card, the AL wild card, took place Tuesday night, and it would have been beneficial for Buck Showalter to just flash up four fingers when he had Ubaldo Jimenez still on the mound after giving up two rock-solid hits back-to-back. And that led to Edwin Encarnacion, another Major League Pro bat flipper, to the plate to crush a three-run bomb to send Toronto onto the American League Division Series against Texas. And before that took place, you kind of scratch your head. When it took place, you really scratch your head. And then after sleeping on it, you really wake up thinking, what was Buck Showalter thinking at that point? You have the best reliever, best closer, and possibly the best pitcher in all of the world waiting in your bullpen to have a shot, and that's Zach Britton with a .54 ERA throughout the season. And he leaves him in that scenario on the bench. That is basically a Game 7 on Tuesday night that Buck Showalter maybe had forgotten about. Those series, one-game series, just start off with so much intensity. Remember back a couple years ago, the back-and-forthness between Kansas City and Oakland, their American League game. It's just so entertaining. It's some of the best baseball that you're ever going to see, especially on the edge of your seat style stuff that took place Tuesday night. So when you have a pitcher out there, I understand Buck Showalter in the post-game press conference talking about he had a setup and liked all his guys, including Jimenez, all the way to the end. But you have to kind of manage pitch by pitch and not scenario by scenario, I want to say, when you get into a one game or a Game 7 format that took place on Tuesday night. He got rocked, like I said, pretty solid in those two at-bats that he had in the bottom of the 11th inning. I think at that point, you got to understand, Buck, that the minute, the second that run comes across the plate, you lose. Your season's over. You're never going to see Camden Yards this season or anything postseason-wise until 2017. So you have to. It's something these old-style, old-school managers, I think, sometimes forget. When they get in the moment, they think they have to be the smartest person in the dugout and make that genius move. When it comes down to you've got Zach Britton in your bullpen, you have to play him. You have to put an all-in scenario on your side. You have to go all in with the best pitcher and best reliever in baseball. So it didn't work out well for him. You know, a lot of people can say, fans and the media alike, that it's a lot of football terminology, Monday morning quarterbacking or backseat driving. But I think everybody in the Orioles, fan base and everyone in the stadium last night was questioning the decision that Buck Showalter made and leaving a great pitcher on the bench in a scenario. Now you look back, you see the emotion in Zach's eyes after the game that he knows he could have potentially gotten that game to the top of the 12th inning, and who knows where it goes from there. But the second wild card game took place Wednesday night at the Mets. And what else do you expect when you see Thor versus the country boy, Mad Bum? Madison Bumgarner against Thor. It was just typical, just knockdown drag-out with those two guys not allowing anything either way. And when it came down to it, never bet against Madison Bumgarner because he was the one in the end that went the distance, complete game, 9 innings, and then the next scenario that takes place leading up to him finish off the 9th inning is Connor Gillespie, a guy that could barely even scratch a hit, it seemed like, when he was with the Chicago White Sox, comes up in the top of the 9th and crushes a familiar 3-run bomb to right center field. That's really what the Major League postseason is all about. You can make or break a career. All the negativity that surrounded the years of disappointment with A-Rod before he finally stepped up in 2009, and a lot throughout Barry Bonds' career. He struggled in the postseason until he got to the World Series in 2002 against the Angels. They lost, that with Dusty Baker at the helm, but still he had an explosive postseason, and that took a little bit of the monkey off his back, personally, so to say. But Connor Gillespie, that's a big props out to that guy who's been a journeyman. He started with the Giants and with the White Sox. Last year, he split time as well with the Angels. So to come in a scenario like that, to basically have that remembrance and that legendary, iconic moment live forever, again, that's what makes Major League Baseball postseason probably the best postseason in all of sport. So now that we're on to all the American League Divisional Series and National League Divisional Series games are set up and series are set up, we can project out to possibly what could take place. Want to hold off on that too much. Don't want to scare people on the YouTube Nation about potential World Series matchups. A lot of people thinking a Boston Red Sox Chicago Cubs could be something that would be an all-time great series. But you might want to scratch the surface a little bit more. And if this series were to take place, I would be one to think that the world could be coming to an end. What if it was a Chicago Cubs Cleveland Indians World Series? Again, some team would have to actually win that hasn't won one in forever. But I'm on the side of thinking that if the Chicago Cubs just get to the World Series and even lose, it's not going to be a disappointment. I know a lot of Chicago Cubs fans out there will disagree with that. But give me a break. You haven't been, as a franchise, to the World Series since 1945. So every little bit of step taken towards a World Series is a good one. 2003 ended poorly, as we all know. They were 4 or 5 outs away from making it to the World Series. But again, just get to the World Series for the Chicago Cubs, I think, will be a very good step forward for that franchise. And with that, we'll be in touch again as the postseason continues on. But for now, you've just been on air, and I am Ryan Ayers.